Chapter 1341 Demon Clan. I can't believe that there are still creatures that can survive in this sea of blood filled with corpse poison. The mutant controlling the poison said in surprise, as if unable to believe what he was seeing. Everyone worked together, slashing at the bugs with all their strength. Knowing their true nature made it much easier. Even though there were a lot of bugs, the combined forces of the southwest region were full of experts, and they quickly killed a large number of poisonous bugs. Fatty Sue's chubby hands aimed at the surface of the blood sea, and his ability to blizzard was activated, immediately freezing the surrounding space for several miles in all directions. His ability always works better where there is liquid. Even a blood sea, where water is the main ingredient, quickly turned the surrounding blood sea into a hard ice surface. The ship was fixed in place, and the mutants could also board the ice surface to fight. However, the corpses and insects began to have difficulty moving. Uncle Yu took out his gun and started shooting like he was firing bullets for free. He held the Gatling just as easily as an ordinary person would hold a light machine gun. He blasted the corpses and insects to pieces in large swathes. Ha! The methods these people from the Demon Kingdom use against us are really quite crude. Uncle Yu laughed out loud. Zhang Yi slung his sword over his shoulder. There was no need for him to go out and hack away personally at a time like this. No, in the past, this was a powerful means of stopping people from our world. They kept the worms inside corpses and raised them in a sea of blood. The worms survived by feeding on the corpses and the blood, and when they encountered living things, they would automatically attack. If they hadn't encountered us, even an ordinary army would have suffered here. It wasn't that these worms weren't strong enough, but that the strength of their army was too great. There were several Epsilon-class mutants alone. The sound of guns and cannons continued to echo above the blood sea, and the corpse worms' body parts quickly spread all over the blood sea, the dense mass of flesh quite disgusting. But in the middle of the blood sea, such corpses continued to emerge. Deiji shouted, "Don't keep paying attention to them. This is the way the Demon Kingdom buries its dead. There are countless corpses here, accumulated over thousands of years. Unless the blood sea is steamed dry, there is no way to kill them all. Let's leave quickly. Don't waste any more time here." Everyone agreed, and they chose to retreat while fighting. The surrounding sea had already been frozen by Fatty Sue, but this was not a problem at all. Janga, transformed into Raging Vajra, jumped in front of the group and with just one punch, his immense power directly shattered the heavy ice surface. Boom boom boom. Janda used his fists to smash open an ice path. The fleet then left the sea of blood and sped off towards the front. The corpses did not give up, lying flat on the surface of the blood-red sea and spinning around as they chased after the fleet at high speed. Although they did not do much damage to the Allied forces, they were exceptionally creepy. The Allied forces felt a tingling in their scalps and did not want to get tangled up with these monsters. They could only quickly sail towards the opposite shore. Clang! Blood splashed against the hull of the ship. Suddenly, the ship in the lead lurched violently, and then, as if impacted by some enormous force, it was overturned. Ah! A scream came from the ship. A huge hand reached out from the sea of blood and directly crushed and distorted the body of a soldier. It was as if someone had pressed on a water-saturated surface, and a large amount of blood and filth flowed down. Liang Yu did not hesitate, and leapt forward, a bright flash of light from her sword. When the long sword slashed at the huge arm, it made a sound like metal being cut, and the arm was cut off directly, revealing a flat cut. From the sea of blood, a huge head slowly emerged. The head was twice the size of an ordinary person, with no hair, and a demonic eye carved into its forehead. He slowly emerged from the sea of blood, and his body was surprisingly more than 4 meters tall. Demon Kingdom people. He's from the Demon Kingdom. Many followers of Tantra shouted in excitement when they saw a living Demon Clan member for the first time. They chanted the Buddha's name to encourage themselves not to fear such monsters. But soon, an even greater horror appeared. After the strange demon clan member appeared, behind him, the sea of blood surged, and a series of strange figures stood up from the sea of blood. The demon clan member, which was more than 4 meters tall, was actually of a relatively average build. Behind him, demon clan members 5 to 6 meters tall stood, and even giants close to 10 meters tall slowly straightened up. Their eyes, devoid of emotion, fixed on the allied forces outside, as if they were small mountains standing in front of the fleet. Zhang Yi finally understood why the doors had to be built so large. Because the people of the Demon Kingdom were much larger than ordinary humans. These aren't humans, are they? Zhou Qir's voice came over the comm channel. Although they were inside shadow space, they were not idle. Everyone was doing their part, waiting for their moment to shine. The moment they saw the Demon Clan, Zhou Qir and Yang Xinxin started going through the historical data to investigate. The people of the Demon Kingdom are indeed much larger than ordinary people. Historical records from the pre-Qin period once recorded that a guerrilla general had led an expedition against the Xiongrong and killed a giant that was 5 meters tall. I think they are indeed human, but they have undergone some kind of mutation. And since these corpses have been soaking in the sea of blood for such a long time, it is only natural that they have grown in size, which makes them look even more terrifying. In ancient Huaxu Kingdom, there were many strange and unusual people. Some were born with double pupils, some had arms that reached past their knees, and some had their ribs connected in a row. In ancient times, it was believed that these were the signs of a mutant, and that they would certainly go on to great things in the future. Perhaps these people were early versions of the awakened, and that is why they were able to achieve what others could not. Amitabha. Followers of the Buddha, purify these sinful demon clans. Deji stood at the bow of the ship and said coldly, "Kill." The roar echoed across the sea of blood. They had come here to conquer the Demon Kingdom, and now the enemy was in front of them, so of course they were not afraid of battle. Death in the defense of their faith would allow them to enter the Western Paradise after death, so everyone charged fearlessly forward to engage these giants. The Undertaker and Zhang Yi, however, did not intervene. Although these terrifying demon clansmen looked fearsome, none of them had the power of an Epsilon-class. If the Demon Kingdom really resembled the underground of the Qinling Mountains, there must be Epsilon-class strongmen there. They needed to conserve their strength and wait for the crucial moment to strike. On the Paji family side, it was still Fatty Su who made the first move, freezing the Blood Sea. Otherwise, most of the soldiers did not have the ability to fight in seawater. Janda commanded his soldiers to launch an orderly assault on the demon clansmen. Among these people, Liang Yu's performance was the most dazzling. Boom! A demon clan member, 7 or 8 meters tall, swung his long arm like a whip and slammed it down hard on the soldiers in front of him. Several soldiers' faces changed as they narrowly avoided it, and the ice beneath them quickly shattered, sending bloody ice shards flying. The power of these demon clansmen was too great, and even though they were wearing combat suits, ordinary people could hardly withstand their power. However, upon closer inspection, these demon clansmen were only large in stature, but did not possess any special abilities. So at times like this, Liang Yu's chance to show off came. In close combat, she was ranked among the best in the entire Allied army, and apart from a few Epsilons, no one should be her match. She quickly ran across the ice beneath her feet shattering as she did so. A hurricane swept past, and she was already airborne. A giant turned his head to look, but all he got was Liang Yu's sword. Blue Qi spiraled around Liang Yu, and with a swing of the long sword, it directly cut the giant's head off in the middle. Chapter 1342, The Ancient City of the Demon Kingdom. The demon clan, who had lost his eye, looked around, looking left and right. His vitality seemed to be extremely tenacious. After his head was slashed off, his body instinctively made 2 attempts to pupate, but in the end, he collapsed onto the ice. Uncle Yu was also firing on all cylinders. On his body, he was wearing a mech exoskeleton tailored for him by Liu Karen. His exoskeleton was several times heavier than everyone else's because it was enhanced with many heavy firearms. Uncle Yu was covered in black armor, with a Gatling gun in each hand and a small-caliber shoulder cannon on his shoulders, firing wildly at the giants. Even though the bodies of the demon clan were as strong as steel, but under the firepower of these super-era heat weapons, even the hardest steel would be melted by the cannon fire. "Uncle Yu, pass the baton, it's my turn to shine." Fatty Su took a deep breath, and a serious look appeared in his eyes. His hair flew up in the wind, the temperature around him rapidly dropped, and a large amount of seawater surged up, turning into sharp ice spines all around him. "Go!" Fatty Su swung his right hand fiercely, and the sky full of ice spines pierced towards the giants. Pierce! Many of the giants' bodies were pierced, and the huge blood-red ice spikes stuck them like hedgehogs. Fatty Su was extremely excited. Where there was water, his abilities were greatly enhanced. Soon, the giant demon clansmen that had attacked the Allied forces were killed in pieces. The morale of the Allied forces was high. No one could have imagined that this attack would go so well. Everyone's faces showed a relaxed expression. "What? I thought the demon clan that ruled the snowy plateau 1,000 years ago was terrifying, but I never imagined it was so weak. Ha ha ha, forget about the mutants. It feels like all we need is an army with full firepower to sweep through the place." The crowd said happily. Yang Xinxin's voice sounded faintly over the communication channel. "The doors of eternal separation have isolated the two worlds. The people outside have undergone 3 industrial revolutions, and their technology has developed by leaps and bounds. The technological lead has resulted in a crushing military advantage. If they had arrived here 300 years ago, in wooden boats, with muskets and no advanced combat uniforms, they would have been hard-pressed to deal with even the bloodthirsty corpses and strange insects they initially encountered. Hey, these demon clan people seem to be corpses too." Liang Yu suddenly said to the people around her in surprise. She had killed her enemies in a simple and direct way, attacking their hearts and brains. But when she split a giant in half with a single sword stroke, she realized that the blood flowing through his body was black, and his brain had withered, so it was obvious that he was not a living person. A lama from Tantra said, "This is a means of refining corpses to use as puppets." It is clearly recorded in the Tantra scrolls. Zhang Yi thought of the bloody sacrificial practices and the way human organs and body parts were used to make ritual implements in the Tantra tradition, and couldn't help but take a deep breath. It seems that those are also traditions passed down from the Demon Kingdom era. The horrors in the Sea of Blood may seem dangerous, but after 2 rounds, the people of the coalition slowly realized that these things that were quite terrifying in ancient times could no longer stop modern guns and powerful mutants. They forced their way through, and along the way, some more fierce creatures appeared, all nourished by the evil of the Sea of Blood, but they were all reduced to ashes by the coalition's scientific methods. Soon, they were approaching the other side of the Blood Sea. From a distance, they could even see an ancient city underground. It was shrouded in smoke, and everything was hidden and indistinct. Zhang Yi took out the drone from dimensional space. The temperature underground was not cold, so the drone could operate normally. The others followed suit and sent the drone ahead to explore. The images transmitted back by the drone were sent back in real time. This ancient city is huge, at least half the size of Sarah City. The people moving around inside are all remnants of the Demon Kingdom. But unlike what they had imagined, these demon clansmen don't look any different from ordinary humans. They are underground, with houses and even a bustling market. Except that everyone has a demon eye tattooed on their forehead. It looks like they're no different from ordinary people. Fatty Su looked at the image and whispered, "They don't look any different from ordinary people." "No, look closely at their build," Janda said sternly. Zhang Yi listened and directly analyzed the height of the demon clan by retrieving the parameters. The results were astonishing. The average height of their adults was around 3 meters, and even the half-grown children were taller than Fatty Su. Deiji had a separate communication channel with the heads of each household. He reminded everyone, these are sinful immigrants, and their existence will always be the greatest threat to Tantra. Do not feel pity for them. The descendants of heretics and demons must all be exterminated. The bloodshed caused by the demon kingdom on the snowy plateau 1,000 years ago is still chilling even when read about in historical records. So Deiji will show no mercy, and they are basically ruthless killing machines. This time, even the children of the demon kingdom will not be spared, and even a dog that passes by will get 2 slaps. The drone soared high in the sky. The technology of the demon kingdom is very backward. They even use ox-drawn carts when going out, and their houses are the most simple stone houses. It seems as if their technology has not improved at all over the past 1,000 years. The drone was thousands of meters above the ground of the city to avoid being discovered, but with the technology of the demon kingdom, it was impossible to detect. "Boss, I have a bad feeling about this," Fatty Sue whispered to Zhang Yi over the communication channel. Even Fatty Sue, who was usually the laziest person around, sensed that something was wrong. Zhang Yi frowned, too. "What did you notice?" Fatty Sue said, "This is obviously a small country, but we didn't come here to help Tantra get rid of the heretics. We came here to find the demon kingdom treasure Pajigson was talking about. But this place doesn't look anything like a treasure." Zhang Yi's brows furrowed even more tightly. The treasure of the demon kingdom he thought of was a secret realm similar to the Misty Valley and the heavenly abyss of the Qinling Mountains, with the existence of the source of God or the spirit of sacrifice within. But such a place did not look anything like that at all, let alone the spirit of sacrifice. Could it be that he had been tricked by Pajigson? Chapter 1343, The Old Man by the Sea. The demon kingdom that appeared before his eyes did not match Zhang Yi's impression of the secret realm at all. Just when he thought for a moment that he had been tricked by Pajigson, something suddenly appeared in the image transmitted back by the drone that made his body tense up for a moment. The drone continued to fly forward and finally captured the center of the city. And in the very middle of the entire city, there stood a pyramid that was thousands of meters high. It was so tall that it looked like a giant mountain. Even compared to the height of the people of the demon kingdom, this kind of high tower also seemed extremely huge. It stood in the center of the entire ancient city, and the entire ancient city seemed to have been built around this pyramid. This pyramid was completely different from anything Zhang Yi had seen before. It was layered, as if it had been built layer by layer. The entire tower was bright red, as if it had been built with blood. The 9-story demon tower. Janda suddenly exclaimed next to him with a serious expression on his face. Upon hearing this, Zhang Yi suddenly remembered that there is a special kind of tomb on the snowy plateau called the 9-story demon tower, also known as the 9-story demon building. In this world, most stacked-up buildings are wide at the bottom and narrow at the top. And because it is so large, Zhang Yi mistook it for a pyramid. "You mean to say that the middle of the entire ancient city is a tomb?" Liang Yu asked. Janda said, "In ancient times, these 9-story demon towers were all the tombs of kings." The moment Zhang Yi saw it, his mind cleared up a lot. If there really is a so-called demon kingdom treasure, I think it's very likely that it's here. He had a feeling that this 9-story demon tower was similar to the giant purple pyramid at the bottom of the abyss in the Qinling Mountains. Not only did he see it, but people from other forces also saw this enormous 9-story demon tower. Deiji was so excited that his speech trembled. "Finally found it, this is it." The camera zoomed in, and Zhang Yi and the others saw the scene around the 9-story demon tower, which made their backs go cold, because it really looked like a sea of corpses and blood. An uncountable number of corpses were hung around the tower, some of them already decayed into skeletons, while others were still fresh. Human, pig, dog, cow, sheep, all kinds of sacrifices were piled up, and it was unknown how many years had passed and how many lives had been sacrificed to build this strange demon tower. At this time, around the demon tower, In the huge open space, there were countless people from the Demon Kingdom kneeling on the ground, kowtowing and worshipping. At this moment, the Undertaker stood up, his gaze calmly looking at the crowd. "Everyone, the Demon Kingdom immigrants are just ahead. This trip must be a success, and the remnants of the Demon Kingdom must be completely eradicated, so as to remove the thorn that has been in the hearts of the people of the snowy region for 1,000 years. He reached out and pointed to the direction of the enormous ancient city, his finger pointing in the direction of the 9-story Demon Tower. "And within that Demon Tower lies the treasure of the Demon Kingdom." The latter part of the sentence was obviously directed at Zhang Yi and the other outsiders. Everyone knew that the Undertaker's goal was to get them to help destroy the Demon Kingdom, but they had come here for the treasure of the Demon Kingdom, so they would act even though they knew it was a trap. After all, judging from the importance the people of the Demon Kingdom placed on the 9-story Demon Tower, it was impossible for them to let them take what was inside the 9-story Demon Tower without killing them all. Zhang Yi also narrowed his eyes and said to his companions, "Everyone will be eyeing the contents of the 9-story Demon Tower, and the fighting will be fierce. And, first we have to fight the Demon Clan here. Uncle Yu, Fatty Sue, you two must never leave my side. Follow Flower and support it. Today, Uncle Yu and Fatty Sue are only at the 8000 plus power level, the level of a vice captain, which is considered a master here. However, there were several Epsilons present, and their strength was simply not enough to participate in the battle for the Demon Tower." Uncle Yu and Fatty Sue nodded very cautiously, while feeling a little ashamed inside. Although their strength had improved at a fast rate, they simply could not participate in Zhang Yi's frontline battle. For the first time, they felt a strong sense of defeat. Zhang Yi's squad, when it came to actual combat, only Flower and Liang Yu could help a little, and of course, that was limited to containing the other more powerful Delta-level mutants. Soon, the Allied fleet approached the coast of the Blood Sea. The Blood Sea was the dumping ground of the Demon Kingdom, where corpses had accumulated for thousands of years, naturally accumulating thousands of years of corpse poison. Therefore, the surrounding area was not inhabited at all, and not even plants could grow. However, when large groups of ships swarmed in like ants, they still alerted the people of the Demon Kingdom. On the shore was a small wooden house, where an old man with dark skin and sunken eyes, almost narrowed to a slit, lived. This day, he was drinking tea at home. The water in the teacup was blood red, but he looked normal and was enjoying the tea comfortably. Suddenly, he turned his head and looked out the window at the vast Red Sea. A fierce and menacing look flashed in his eyes. Has the person on the other side of the doors finally appeared? The old man got up and picked up a huge spear from the wall next to him. He walked out of the house, and compared to the wooden house, his build was quite normal. But compared to the crowd approaching from the sea, he was a veritable giant. Although he was old, his skin was full of wrinkles, and only a few sparse hairs remained on his head. The demonic-like giant body and the awe-inspiring momentum still brought an unprecedented shock to the crowd. This was a giant who was nearly 10 meters tall. Even taller than the largest corpse in the Blood Sea. "Demon Clan, it's alive." A mercenary squirmed his throat and subconsciously raised the large-caliber sniper rifle in his hand. This anti-material sniper rifle is extremely powerful and can pierce the steel plates of an armored vehicle. Kill first and talk later. Pulling the trigger, the roar of the heavy sniper rifle resounded through the Blood Sea. After a burst of dust, the old Demon Clan did not fall. He raised his left hand, and the bullet from the sniper rifle was caught between his two fingers. What? Everyone was shocked. This terrifying physical strength was mind-boggling. You see, even Liang Yu, who could dodge a sniper bullet, would never choose to use his body to resist it. Not to mention just two fingers, holding a bullet that can pierce a chariot. Zhang Yi looked at the old man, his eyes becoming serious. Epsilon from the Demon Kingdom? Judging from the physical fitness of the Demon Clan, they have stronger genes than ordinary humans in the outside world, so they are larger in size and have stronger physical abilities. Perhaps it is precisely for this reason that they chose to take the primitive path of developing their military strength. A flash of excitement suddenly appeared in Zhang Yi's eyes. But that is not the reason why they can appear Epsilon. I was right, the so-called treasure of the demon kingdom must be related to the source of God or the spirit of sacrifice. Chapter 1344, The Reappearance of the Sniper God. The Allied forces finally saw a living demon clan member, the first of which was such an old and huge existence. He is on his deathbed, but his ability to catch heavy sniper bullets with his bare hands has already shown everyone how powerful he is. Facing the enemy that has come across the sea, he did not hesitate to raise the long spear in his hand and fired it violently at the fleet in front of him. The spear in his hand is like a huge pillar to Zhang Yi and the others. Boom! The spear pierced through the fleet, smashing the first 7 or 8 ships and their crews to pieces. Limbs and blood splattered everywhere. The old demon clan member's speed was too fast, and not many of those present were able to see his movements clearly. The advance guard was moving too fast for the others to stop in time. Liang Yu said in horror, "This is an enhanced Epsilon-class demon clan member." The spear did not slow down, and it headed straight for the center of the fleet. The Undertaker suddenly opened his eyes. For the first time, Zhang Yi and the others saw anger on the face of this gentleman. His eyes were like those of a furious golden Buddha. A burst of golden light suddenly erupted from his body, and in an instant, he was in front of the huge spear. The Undertaker's body was covered in a layer of golden light, and he looked like a holy statue in a temple. Facing the spear, which was many times larger than him, Undertaker did not flinch as he pushed forward with a palm strike. The spear, carrying the power of 1,000 tons, came to a stop in front of him. The sharp tip of the spear hit the palm of his strong hand, but it was unable to pierce his skin. This was one of Undertaker's abilities' indestructible golden body. The old demon clan saw his attack blocked and his pupils suddenly narrowed. He waved his hand, and the spear suddenly flew back, landing in the palm of his hand. The next moment, he looked up at the sky and let out a long, mournful howl that made people's eardrums hurt. He's notifying the demon kingdom. Zhang Yi and the others were lucky, their combat suits were fully enclosed and had a powerful intelligence system that could automatically reduce noise. But others were in trouble. Many people's eardrums were ruptured by the howl. Deji stood on the ship and shouted to everyone, "Everyone! The demon kingdom is right in front of us, what are we waiting for? Kill the demons and maintain peace in the snowy plateau, today." The Undertaker had already taken a step forward. He was so fast that he turned into a golden light, stepping on the sea of blood beneath him and heading straight for the demon clan. At this moment, figures like fleas were sprinting towards them from the ancient city in the distance. Upon closer inspection, they were all powerful mutants from the demon kingdom. It seemed that the people here admired powerful bodies more, so most of them had strong physiques. After receiving the warning from the old demon clan, they didn't hesitate to rush over to fight the invaders. Zhang Yi gripped the long sword in his hand, while in his left hand he held the white eagle, ready to steal the chicken at any moment. He was now very envious of the things inside the 9-story demon tower. The Undertaker had already fought to a standstill with the old demon clan. In terms of body size, the old demon clan was several times that of the Undertaker, and the Undertaker could only hit his knees when he jumped up. However, his powerful supernatural powers made him fight the old demon clan back, and soon made him cough up blood in large mouthfuls. The old demon clan's ability index did not look high, and he was old and weak, so he was no match for the Undertaker at all. If it weren't for the physical advantages of his race, he would have been beaten to death long ago. At this time, the Undertaker was no longer the merciful person he once was. He had never killed anyone before, and even when he encountered an utterly heinous target, he would only capture the other party. But this time, his attack was fierce and full of murderous intent. In the past, he did not kill because of his beliefs. This time, he was ruthless in the face of heresy, also for the sake of his beliefs. and at this moment, the reinforcements of the Demon Kingdom arrived quickly. They seemed to have been prepared for a long time. After the old Demon Clan issued a warning, the other powerful people of the Demon Kingdom came to support them. They were all tall, like ancient apes, crossing the wilderness and rushing over. Everyone was armed with the most primitive weapons, but the murderous intent in their eyes made the battle-hardened soldiers of the Demon Clan break out in a cold sweat. Kill! Fire at full strength! The Allied forces had already landed, and of course they weren't stupid enough to fight these giants hand-to-hand, so they took out their weapons and opened fire. However, ordinary bullets seemed to have no effect on these Demon Clan at all, and they were unable to carry heavy firearms for the sake of ease of movement. The brief moment of surprise caused by the firepower suppression only made the Demon Clan charge even more fiercely, as they realized that the weapons only made them feel a little sore, but did not actually cause any harm. Soon, they were engaged in close combat. At this point, the soldiers, who had previously looked down on the Demon Kingdom's technologically inferior weapons, realized just how terrifying this race was that had once dominated the snowy plateau. The advent of the Great Mutation era had given them great power. The Demon Clan, who were already physically superior, had become even more powerful. Armed with swords, clubs and spears, they charged into the Allied army's battle formation like they were swatting flies. Who? A powerful Demon Clan warrior swung his spear, instantly sweeping out a fan-shaped area of more than 10 meters. Several Allied soldiers were instantly killed, their bodies twisted and deformed. Their strength is too great. Don't get close, fall back immediately. Spread out and engage them in a skirmish. Deiji was commanding the battle from behind the crowd. They paid a heavy price for their lack of respect. The entire battlefield was dominated by the Undertaker's side, but his primary objective at the moment was to kill the opponent's strongest person, so it was impossible for him to get off the field to manage the battle here. For a time, the battlefield was incredibly comical, as if a group of Demon Clansmen were cleaning up stray dogs that had invaded their home. After landing, Zhang Yi slowly sheathed the long sword in his hand and then took out the heavy sniper rifle Thunderstrike. The giants rushing at them like a hill were, in his eyes, perfect targets. Other people's guns couldn't hit these people, but the gun in Zhang Yi's hands was different. He opened the bracket, rested the gun on the ground, and started to fire. Boom! Thunderstrike sent out a deafening roar, instantly piercing the 3 Demon Clansmen. The terrifying power attracted the attention of many people. On the Xiaja family side, a mercenary looked at the heavy sniper in Zhang Yi's hands and was slightly stunned. So it was him, he muttered. Zhang Yi did not go near to fight hand-to-hand. Although his melee combat ability is now very good, comparable to a top-level Delta mutant. However, a gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall. In case he is attacked by a few giant demons, his life may be in danger. Therefore, Zhang Yi asked Flower and Liang Yu to flank him, while he took out his gun and killed one by one. Bang! 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 Zhang Yi has been playing with guns for 2.5 years, and the Thunderstrike is as familiar to him as his own body. His ability to precision shot allows him to identify enemies automatically without the need to aim. So soon, dozens of Demon Clan strongmen were killed at the hands of Zhang Yi. This greatly relieved the pressure on the Allied forces. The other mutants around looked at the big sniper in Zhang Yi's hands and couldn't help but be secretly amazed. Chapter 1345, The Second Man. Zhang Yi single-handedly suppressed the entire battlefield and quickly attracted the attention of everyone. This naturally included the Demon Clan. Soon, a mutant appeared among the Demon Clan whose height was significantly greater than the others. His arms were almost hanging down to the ground, and his figure was as thin as a telephone pole. After swaying like a willow in the wind, the thin body suddenly sped up and charged towards Zhang Yi's direction. Without batting an eye, Zhang Yi immediately turned the gun and aimed at him. A bullet instantly shot through the void and towards the Demon Clan's head. A mocking smile curled the corner of the demon clan's mouth, and his body actually twisted in the air like rubber, avoiding the trajectory of the bullet. Puff! After a flash, his body was flipped to the ground by the huge inertia of the bullet, and a large hole appeared in the center of his forehead. Until the end, he could not understand why he was shot even though he had clearly avoided the trajectory of the bullet. Of course, he did not understand that the ability of destined reincarnation could make the bullet undergo a second displacement in the air to adjust its trajectory. After seeing this ability for the first time, it was also difficult to deal with it. After all, Zhang Yi could predict everything that would happen within 2 seconds. And those who encounter it for the first time are often unable to respond accurately. Death is inevitable. Uncle Yu stood next to Zhang Yi, firing his heavy machine gun ferociously. He was using special origin bullets, which were also effective against the demon clan, whose defenses were extremely strong. Soon, a large area in front of him was riddled with bullets. As he watched Zhang Yi in action, Uncle Yu, who was smoking a cigarette, asked with a smile, "Zhang Yi, this isn't like you. Didn't you say you wanted to hide your strength?" Zhang Yi glanced at the other battlefields. The Epsilons from the other 2 forces he had seen before had not yet made a serious move. Zhang Yi laughed derisively and said, "We're already here, and we all know each other's presence. What's the point of hiding anymore? Besides, before the official start of the battle, I need to warm up and get my hand in." The 2 Epsilons' actions directly tipped the balance of the battlefield in favor of the demon clan. Next to La Menoju, the tall mutant watched Zhang Yi, who was killing like crazy, and a playful curve formed at the corner of his mouth. "It seems that our friend over there is in a bit of a hurry." He made a void motion with his right hand, and a knightly longsword slowly solidified in his palm. This is a long sword that has been transformed by his supernatural powers, but it looks no different from a real sword. I should warm up my hands too. The knight uses a 2-handed sword, which he holds in one hand, but compared to his tall frame, it doesn't seem out of place for him to use it with one hand. Lancelot twisted his arm, a bloodthirsty gleam flashing in his eyes, and he charged directly into the demon clan's formation as a dark shadow. Boom! He swept in like a black whirlwind. In just a moment, dozens of demon clansmen had not even had time to see their opponent clearly before their bodies were dismembered and flying in all directions. People from both sides struck, as did the foreigner from Brahma invited by the Xiaja family. A quick battle and a quick resolution. The sooner we get rid of this trouble, the sooner we can go compete for the treasure. The mutant who spoke reached out his hand and also used his supernatural powers to manifest a golden sacred sword. He simply swung the long sword with grace, and a frigid golden sword light rolled out, instantly turning the large area in front of him into powder as it chopped up the demon clan. When he saw the golden sacred sword, the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth also curled up slightly. "Long time no see, Gao Changkong. I knew it, you're not going to die that easily." The Epsilon-level mutant that appeared before him was none other than the former captain of the Jiangnan region defectors, Gao Changkong. That sword was formed from the Sunwheel Seal, one of the 6 great seals of his heavenly dancing treasure wheel. The characteristics were too obvious, so Zhang Yi had suspected as much when they first met at the Great Snow Mountain. Later, he confirmed from Luozhua, the Snow Mountain Condor, that there was a group of mutants from Brahma, which further confirmed his suspicions. After Gao Changkong, along with his team, left the Jiangnan region, they fled abroad to avoid the S-level wanted notice issued by the Huashu Kingdom. It makes sense that they would flee to Brahma, which is also a formidable power. As for the other group of people, Zhang Yi looked at Lancelot and the others. Their identities have also been revealed. Through the information provided by the Deng family, it has been confirmed that they are members of the mutant organization Knights of the Round Table, in Britannia. Abilities, unknown, strength, unknown. Including Gao Changkong nowadays, Zhang Yi also has no idea to what extent his abilities have been developed. But for him, these are not important. Their strength is at most similar to Zhang Yi's, and when fighting mutants at the same level, Zhang Yi has never lost. Because his defensive ability is beyond 18,000 points. Maybe he can't win, but he definitely won't lose. As long as he is careful and doesn't let the opponent catch him off guard, not to mention. Zhang Yi's gaze looked into the distance, where he was suppressing the Epsilon Demon Clan's Undertaker, and he said to himself, if you want to get the treasure of the Demon Kingdom, everyone has to face him. On the snowy plateau, the Undertaker's strength can be blessed by Sangha Temple, and even if he is seriously injured, he can recover quickly. His ability value is conservatively estimated to be over 20,000 points. One-on-one, Zhang Yi and the other two have little hope of defeating him. What's more, at this moment, the Undertaker gives off an even more formidable impression than when they first fought on the Great Snow Mountain. The boyish innocence he once had has been replaced by the confidence of a man. Wait for the right moment, and then strike. I just hope that the backup plan I left behind will work in the crucial moment. But for now, I still need to use him to do me a favor. Zhang Yi had already planned a grand chess game in his heart, and even the Undertaker was one of his chess pieces. On the side of the Undertaker and the Demon Clan, the battle had lasted less than 3 minutes, and the Demon Clan had already been almost completely destroyed. One of his arms was directly snapped off by the Undertaker, and blood sprayed everywhere. The Undertaker threw away his arm and charged over, intent on punching through his chest with a single blow. At this moment, a purple light shot out of the sky of the ancient city very suddenly and hit the Undertaker's golden light of protection hard. The Undertaker's full attention was on the old Demon Clan at the time, and he did not expect such a powerful blow to come. His body was knocked flying thousands of meters into the air, and he fell into the sea of blood. This scene left everyone dumbfounded. The Undertaker, who was generally invincible in their minds as a god, had actually been knocked flying. Zhang Yi immediately activated the long-distance vision ability of the submarine dragon armor and looked in the direction from which the beam of light had come. He saw a giant with a greenish-purple body and no hair, looking like a monster, standing on the ancient city's wall, staring at them with a cold expression. The Demon Kingdom's second Epsilon-class powerful being.